welcome to Wildlife Yoga, and we have another prenatal class for you today. We'll spend some time using our blocks to help us get some twisting into our spines. So get something that you can feel supported on and find some time to take some peace with you and your baby on your mat. Start by sitting nice and tall and find a really comfortable way for you to sit. If that means elevating your hips on a block, go ahead and do that. If it feels better for you to sit in a kneeling position, if having your knees out wide feels uncomfortable, you can sit this way as well. Just make sure you're being mindful of any constriction throughout your knees. So if you're sitting like this, it can be helpful to sit with a block underneath as well. When you found your comfortable sitting position, go ahead and sit nice and tall. And draw your shoulders up towards your ears and then down and away, opening up through your chest. Inhale and bring your shoulders up. And exhale, relax them down. Inhale one more time, bringing those shoulders up. And exhale, bringing them all the way down. Now sitting nice and tall, we'll just take some gentle head circles here, bringing your right ear towards your right shoulder, and then let your chin drop down towards your chest, and continue all the way around. Taking a few rotations, pausing anywhere that needs some extra special attention. And then we'll make our way towards the other direction. So then bring your left ear towards your left shoulder and start to circle in the other way. Moving with your breath, finding some comfort here, pausing again where you need a bit of extra attention. And then go ahead and come to a comfortable seat again. And this time we'll remove the block if it is something you're sitting on. We just need to be able to have some rotation ability through the hips. So start by just making circles, just like we did with our neck, making circles here with our belly and in through our hips. Rotating all the way around. Maybe bringing your neck into a little bit if that feels good. Really taking this time to just listen to your body, listen to what your spine is needing, and notice how maybe this can feel good on your hips. Now let's go in the other direction. Good, taking time to really feel all of the movements, moving with your breath. Maybe using this as an opportunity to practice tapping into that intuition that takes over when we have our baby, when we're in birth and when we're in labor. It's a beautiful process that our body goes through. Go ahead and sit up nice and tall. Bring your right hand to your left knee and bring your left hand right behind you. Just take a gentle spinal twist, not trying to twist too much. You can twist more if your belly is a bit smaller. If your belly is pretty big, be very mindful of any intense stretching sensations and just go really gentle. Try to focus this stretch on opening up through the spine, maybe wringing out any tension there. And then gently come back to center. We'll make our way to the other side. Left hand to the right knee. Right hand comes back behind. Gently twist. And as pregnancy progresses, our twisting changes from being more closed type twisting to more open twisting. So we have room for belly and room for baby. So depending on where you are, your twisting might look a little bit different, and that's okay. Just acknowledge that that is something that will change with time. Really, really nice. Go ahead and come back to the center. This time we'll take the legs out wide into Upavishta and bring your right forearm down to the ground. Or if you need a little bit of support, you can have a block here as well. Bring your right forearm down to the ground so your right fingertips are pointing towards your left toes. And then lift your left arm up overhead, reaching across and over for those right toes. Taking some big, deep breaths. Allowing your breath to help you ease into the side body stretch. And rise all the way back up. We'll switch sides, bringing your left forearm down so the left fingertips are pointing towards the right toes. Right arm lifts up and over. Keeping your breath nice and long and strong. Really nice. Let's come all the way back up. Go ahead and remove your block if you had it there. We'll bring our legs in just one at a time and then make our way onto all fours. So on our all fours, remember we like to tuck our toes under and have our knees below our hips. And our fingertips are spread nice and wide, and avoid any locking out of the elbows. We want to keep a slight bend in the elbows as we do this. We'll just take some gentle pelvic tilting, and we're not bringing the tilting all the way into the neck. We're just focusing on the lower spine. So exhale as your tailbone tucks under. Inhale as your tailbone lifts up. Just really focus on sinking into those little hip movements. Taking your time with each one. If you breathe slower than me, that is totally okay. Move at the pace that feels good for you. And take just a couple more rounds, finding a neutral place. And take your gaze so that you're looking across your left side and you're bringing your left hip up closer towards you. So you're kind of creating a C shape with your spine here. And then come back to center, and we'll shift over to the other side, looking across on the right side of the body. And then come back to center once again and make your way to the left. Back to center, maybe taking a couple of pelvic tilts before going to the other side. And then looking over towards the right. Really nice. Now check in with your hands here. Pregnancy carpal tunnel is a thing, and it can happen at any point. So be mindful of if maybe you need to take a break, you can come down onto your elbows if this doesn't feel like too much of an inversion for you. Or just focus on maybe bringing your hands a little bit more forward and spreading your fingertips nice and wide. And take your left leg back behind so that your left heel is pushing down into the ground. So we're trying to open up through the back of the left leg here. And just notice your hips. Try to shift back and forth into your hips and maybe notice how that changes the feeling of the stretch a little bit. Taking your time, moving intuitively. Breathing into the pose. And then we'll go ahead and bring that left leg back down. Keep the left toes tucked under. And then bring your right leg back behind with your heel angled down towards the ground. Shifting back and forth once again. Just taking your time here. Really, really nice. And come back onto all fours. This time we'll take the knees nice and wide and lower down into a child's pose. So the width of your knees will depend on the size of your belly. And in your child's pose, try to just rest your forehead down and take some big deep breaths. And if you would like to take some time to focus on pelvic floor exercises, child's pose is a great place to do that. So on the inhale, we visualize and feel the pelvic floor dropping down, opening and relaxing. And then as we exhale, the pelvic floor lifts and draws up in towards the body. So inhale to open through the pelvis and allow it to drop down. And then exhale, allow the pelvic floor to lift. Just continue that with your own pace, with your own breathing. We'll return to child's pose again later. And you can keep practicing the full range of movement in through the pelvic floor. And then from here, slowly walk the hands back, coming onto your heels. And we'll take the toes under this time, and we'll just practice some opening through the front of the spine. So we can take this as deep as you would like to. So if you would like to lift your hips up more, you totally can. Just remember, we're being mindful of excessive stretching through the belly. Okay, so bring your left hand back behind and lift your right arm up overhead, opening up through your chest. And then we'll slide over to the side, walking to the left side, walking your hands forward, arching through the spine, looking up, and then rounding through the spine, looking down. Walk the hands over towards the right side. Bring your right hand back behind and lift your left arm up overhead. We're kind of just going to flow here, moving the hands forward, arching and rounding through the spine, and then moving them back through the other side, opening up through the chest, opening up through the heart. Move with your own breath. Move at your own pace. This is your time to practice some intuitive movement. If maybe it feels good to start lifting your hips up a little bit, you can totally do that. Just remember, the most important thing here is for you to listen to your own body. And then we'll come all the way back onto all fours. We'll get into a low malasana squat. Now here, if you need some support for your heels, if your heels struggle to be all the way down on the ground, you can roll up the back of your mat and bring your heels right on top of that rolled up area. And grab your blocks, have them close by, as we'll work through kind of a modified sun salutation, working through some squats to help bring some strength into our legs and into our birthing bodies. All right, so we'll start in malasana squat here. So the way that it looks from the front, I'll just move over to the side, is we have our knees out nice and wide and the elbows on the inside. I'm just holding onto my rolled up mat here. So with the knees out nice and wide, we want to try to keep the heels down as much as we can. This allows for more room for the pelvis to move. It allows us to explore the full range of motion of our pelvis. Okay, so just starting at the back of your mat, and if you don't have a mat at home, you can just use a rolled up blanket, anything that's going to support your heels. And I have my blocks out in front of me for our half forward fold just to support myself on the way through. Okay. So we'll start here in malasana. Inhale deeply. And then we'll exhale and lift up to a half forward fold. You can lift up onto your fingertips if you need to. And we'll take this nice and slow. So in a half forward fold, pedal through the legs, straightening one leg and then the other. Breathing nice and deep, allowing your body to settle into this. And notice here, sometimes we'll tend to round to reach for the blocks. Instead, it's better to bend the knees a little bit and keep the hips pointed back so we can keep the spine nice and long if that's something that your body tends to do. And then we will exhale again and rise all the way up to standing. And inhale the arms up overhead. And maybe stretch back just slightly, opening through the chest. And then we'll exhale all the way down to malasana squat. We're going to adjust the breath pattern a little bit here. So this time we'll inhale up to a half forward fold. Exhale, rise to standing. Inhale the arms up overhead. And then exhale again down to a low squat. And we'll repeat the same pattern a few more times. Inhale, lengthen through the legs. Exhale, rise to standing. Inhale, bring the arms up overhead. And exhale all the way down to malasana squat. And if that is a little bit too tricky to come all the way down to a low squat, we'll keep going and I'll show you the variation next time. Inhale the arms up. You can just come down to a chair pose. Exhale to chair. Inhale, lengthen to half forward fold. Exhale, rise up to standing. And inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale down to chair or malasana. Inhale, lengthen and look out. Exhale, rise to standing. And then inhale the arms up again. We'll just keep going a few more times. Taking the squat as low as you need to. Taking your time in each posture, just remembering to move with the breath. Inhale to a half forward fold. Exhale to standing. Inhale, rise all the way up. And we'll go through one more time. Exhale, lower to squat or chair. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, rise to standing. And inhale the arms up overhead. Now go ahead and release the base of your mat if it's rolled up, and we'll scoot the blocks over to the side a little bit. And we're just going to take some time here to shake out through the legs and find some movement here through the belly. So bring your hands to your stomach, and you can bring both your hands to your belly or one hand to your heart. You can bring both your hands to your belly or one hand to your heart. And we're just going to practice swaying here. So swaying side to side, holding your babies if you're rocking them, moving back and forth. And this is good for no matter how big baby is at the time. Just take a moment to visualize rocking this little life that's inside of you. Moving you don't have to keep your feet planted in one position. You can move them side to side. And this is a really beneficial practice for when the baby is working their way towards finding that proper alignment for their head through the pelvis. So it's kind of like the contractions are helping the head move to the right position, and doing something like this, swaying from side to side, just something simple, or dancing, or doing anything that's just getting your body moving, will help the baby find room to align into their optimal position. And it feels kind of good on the hips to just sway from side to side a little bit. And send one big breath, send some love down to your baby. And then we'll bring our legs a little bit wider here, coming into chair pose, supported chair pose. And I'll just show you what it looks like on this side. We'll take a few pelvic tilts here from chair pose. So inhale and point the tailbone back just like we do on all fours. And then exhale, curl the tailbone under. Inhale, point the tailbone back. Exhale, curl the tailbone under. And just continue that with your own breathing here. And just notice how it feels to maybe practice this pelvic tilting in a squatting position or a half chair position, as opposed to being on all fours. Maybe it activates more muscles through the legs. Maybe it allows for a bit more room. Really nice. And then we'll go ahead and bring our legs really, really wide this time. And grab your blocks. So with our legs nice and wide, we'll bring our heels out. And the further out your legs are, the less intense of a stretch it is. So if you're a little more flexible and you'd like to go a bit deeper, you can have your legs in a bit closer. Just try to focus on keeping the spine nice and long here. Rather than letting the hips tuck under, we want to keep the spine long and allow room for our spines to fully expand. And then from here, go ahead and bring your right hand down to the center. Lift your left arm up overhead. Again, twisting just gently through the spine. And then bring your left hand down, and we'll switch to the other side, lifting your right arm up overhead. And go ahead and come all the way back down. And this one we will adjust just like how we did in chair. You can either come down with your glutes close to your heel, or you can stay in a half chair. So we're just gonna slide over to the right side. So if you can only come right here, that's okay. If you'd like to come all the way down to Skandasana, you can totally do that. Let me just move these blocks out of the way. You can keep your blocks there if you need some support. We'll extend that left leg out. Right leg is bent, and if you would like to, you can also bring a block here to sit on as we're doing this. Just try to focus on finding a spot that feels good for you. We're opening through the left inner thigh, and then we'll walk our way all the way over and extend the right leg, bend the left leg. And again, you can have that block beneath your sit bones, or you can rise up a bit higher if you need to. Just find a spot that feels good for you, focusing on opening through that right leg this time. Taking some big deep breaths, really nice. We'll walk our way back over to the other side. Coming back here, if you'd like to start bringing in a twist, you can bring your right arm down and your left arm up. So it's kind of a open twist here with the left arm up, rather than twisting across, which is tricky when our bellies get big. And then we'll walk our hands over to the other side again. This time bringing in that twist if it feels good for you. And we'll go through about 2 more rounds on each side. Keeping the twisting if that feels good. It can even feel good to rotate through the arm to bring some stretching into the front of the chest. Switch over to the other side. And last round on each side. And finishing off this last round, come all the way back to center, bringing your knees down, getting down to a seated position, however feels good for you. We'll work our way through pigeon pose here. So this is really important to help us get some good range of movement through the back of our pelvis. So we'll do a couple of variations here for support, and we'll just work our way through slowly. So pigeon pose is great because we're working on flexion and extension at the same time. So I'll start just on all fours by sliding my left knee forward towards my left wrist, and then bringing my left foot across and under. And then I'll just kind of inch my right foot a little bit further back. And your ability to get into this pose will change throughout the pregnancy, and that is totally fine. If you need a support here, bring a block so that it's beneath your left hip. If you do feel like you can go deeper, you don't need the block there, and you can come all the way down. And just try to remember that the closer your left foot is towards the front of the mat, the more intense the stretch will be. And your ability to lean forward will obviously change as belly gets bigger. So if you would like to lean forward and you have space, you can fold flat if that is in your practice. If that's not in your practice, that is totally okay. You can use one of your blocks and you can change the size of it here. And I'll imagine I have my other one behind my hip under here. And then just start to lean forward, making your way down, just moving nice and slow. And maybe even bringing your forehead to rest on the block here so that you can find some relaxation. Breathing into the outer edge of that left hip and into the front of the right hip flexor. And if you aren't hinging forward at all right now, that is totally fine. Just try to use your breath to find a little bit of comfort in this pose that can be quite intense. And if you would like to add one more thing to focus on, you can focus on your pelvic floor here as well. Inhaling and allowing your pelvic floor to open. And then exhale, drawing your pelvic floor in. Just a couple more breaths here. And then we'll rise all the way up. Go ahead and swing that right leg around. Take the legs, shake them out a little bit, maybe opening and closing through your hips, letting them hit the ground a little bit, rubbing your legs, bringing some circulation back into them. And then we'll make our way back onto all fours. And this time we'll work with the right leg coming forward. Okay, so just remember, on all fours, we slide the right knee towards the right wrist and then bring the right foot across and then start to let the left leg come back a little bit. And if you're up here, that is totally okay. Remember, we can grab that block and sit on it here, and you can have your other blocks if you need to help you lift up a little bit higher. So really use those blocks or those supports to your advantage. And if you don't have blocks, remember, you can use weights, you can use books, you can use cans, whatever you have available. Just use them to help you find comfort in each of these poses. I'm going to slide forward and work towards finding that comfortable place. And remember, the closer my right foot is towards the top of the mat, the more intense the stretch will be. And the closer it is towards my hip, the less intense. And finding a position that feels comfortable. On this side, my body is telling me to stay lifted so I can open up through my left hip flexor. So I'm going to stay there rather than come down to rest on my block. And again, just focus on your breath. Inhale and open through the pelvic floor, allowing it to drop down. And then exhale, lifting the pelvic floor up. Remember that as we practice this range of movement here through the pelvic floor, it will provide more space for healing, more space for us to become aware of that beautiful part of our bodies that will work through the birth in most cases, especially for healing afterwards. Take just a couple more breaths, finding any extra movement that feels good for you, like maybe rotating your neck like I was just doing. And then we'll shift our weight onto the right hip, bring the left leg forward, and we'll shake the legs out once again. That can be pretty intense on the hips there. And maybe even bring your hands to your low back in some appreciation that your body is able to do that. We'll make our way onto all fours once again just to even out the spine. Inhale, point the tailbone back, look out, exhale, round. Pregnancy and birth and labor can come with all sorts of fears and anxieties that can pop up. And this is one of my very favorites to kind of help calm sensory overwhelm is what this one is really useful for. It's called Kurma Mudra. And the right hand comes into like an I love you sign, and then the left hand makes the shape of an L. And the left fingers will hold on to the lowered right fingers. The right pinky will rest on the left pointer finger. The right pointer finger will rest on the left thumb, and then the right thumb will rest right at the base of the wrist here. So it looks kind of like this. Hopefully you can see that. And here, I can almost feel it just right as I get into this mudra. But I like to rest this just in my lap, or maybe right in front of your belly if you, it's hard to reach all the way under in this position. And just take a couple of breaths here, focusing on the pattern of in for the count of 4 through the nose, and then out for the count of 8, either through the nose or through the mouth. So breathing in and breathing out. And continue this breathing pattern in for 4 and out for 8 while you hold the mudra. And just a little bit of background into that is the in for 4 and out for 8 is very calming and relaxing, and is a very beneficial breath exercise for in between waves of contractions. Really beneficial for helping find that equilibrium, finding that space of calm and tranquility as much as you can. And the breathing exercise combined with the mudra can really help to work through times of feeling anxiety. So if you do get to that point during your pregnancy, it can be really helpful to just sit down and take a couple of those deep breaths, hold your hands in this mudra, and just help your body calm down a little bit. Take 3 more rounds of breath this way. And when you're finished, go ahead and release your hands. Shake your hands out just a little bit and we'll get ready for our Shavasana. Finding a comfortable way to lay down. If you'd like to set up your blocks so that you can rest with your back up slightly, just on a slight incline. We do want to avoid laying on the back the further along we get into the pregnancy. If you have a pillow to lay on top, this is a lot more comfortable. Or if you'd like to just lay on your side, just bring one of your blocks or a pillow or a blanket in between your knees and ideally your ankle as well, and then lay on your left side. And find some comfort here. And remember, it's okay to lay on your back if you're earlier on in your pregnancy. Just try to find a comfortable way to lay when we're a bit further on. And some people can lay on their back throughout the whole pregnancy, so it kind of just depends person to person. But when you have found your resting place, bring your arms into a comfortable position. And close your eyes and imagine your body is just becoming very heavy. You don't need to hold your body up right now. You're just allowing your body to melt into the mat, into the ground. And we'll work our way through the body. With every exhale, relaxing from the crown of the head down to the feet. And allow your breathing pattern to come back to normal. Breathing in. And as you breathe out, relaxing your head, face, neck, and shoulders. On your next exhale, relax your chest, your arms, and your upper back. Your next exhale, relax through your belly, along the middle of the spine, and deep into your stomach as well. On the next out breath, release through the pelvis, the front, the sides, and the back of the pelvis, allowing everything to become relaxed and heavy. The next exhale, relax the tops of the legs, the glutes, the thighs, the hamstrings, allowing them to become heavy and supported and relaxed. And then on the last exhale, release through the knees, the calves, the shins, the ankles, the heels, and the feet. Letting everything become nice and heavy. Breathe deeply. Allow your body to Maybe gently start to wake up a little bit. If you'd like to stay in Shavasana a bit longer, you're more than welcome to. And no matter how you are laying right now, make your way onto your side. And then use your hands to help lift you up to a seat. So using your arms to help support you rather than crunching up through the belly to get up is very important. And find that comfortable seat again. Bringing your hands together in heart center. Taking a deep inhale. And exhale audibly through your mouth. Take a moment to bring one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. Bring an appreciation in for your body, for yourself, for taking time for yourself and your body, and also taking time for your baby. And I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and we will see you next time.